I don't know. Not me.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Danvers Zoning Board of Appeals. I would ask if you could all either silence your cell phones or turn them off so we are not disturbed. I'm going to start out with introducing the members of the Zoning Board. Down to my right is Jeff Sauer, Becky Kilborn. Our clerk tonight is Ken Scholes, myself, John Bowner as the chairman, Ken Jarvinen, and our alternate, Katie Hislop. And I believe joining us online is our other alternate, Corrine Doherty. Corrine, can you hear me? Can we hear Corrine?
I can hear you.
There we go. Okay, so technology at its finest.
Hi, Corrine.
Corrine's in parts unknown. We won't disclose her location. And from the Staff Planning Division, we have Georgia Prendergast over there helping us run through everything. Zoning Board members, we have minutes from our October 24th meeting. If I could get a motion.
Motion to accept?
I'll second that.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that does that. And I don't think I need to run through our process, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you want it? Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, all right. For all the new folks. So the way it works is the clerk will read a case from the agenda. From there, we would ask, and again, we're on Danvers Cable, so please speak into the microphone, not only so we can hear you up here, but so the folks at home can hear you. Particularly if you walk away from the microphone to the screen, take the mic with you. Identify yourself and your address for our records. After you are done submitting your case, it'll come back to the zoning board. The zoning board will then ask questions of the applicant. From there, we will try to get out as much information to everyone as possible. At that point, I would turn it over to the public, looking for comment or questions from the public. And at that point, we would come on back and we'd try to get those items all answered in a timely manner, and we will come back to the zoning board and then deliberate. At that point, we close the public hearing and all public comment. Once we have deliberated, then, you know, the applicant, you'll get an idea or a feeling as to how the board will vote, and at that point, we can discuss what your options would be. And I would just point out, if your application is denied and you ask for a vote, it's 2 years before you can reapply. And with that said, I believe I've got everything, and we got a continued case, so we're going to start with that one, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first case is 48 Crane Brook Drive. This is highway corridor zoning. Request for a use variance from Table 1 of the Danvers Zoning Bylaw to allow the use of the existing property to change from extended stay hotel to multifamily rental apartment. Request for a dimensional variance from Section 10 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow a reduction of the number of required parking spaces for the purpose multifamily use. Request is made by PEG Boston Danvers Property LLC, docket 22-4992.
I believe we're in receipt of a letter.
We are in the receipt of a letter from McCann and McCann, attorneys at law, dated November 7th of this year, requesting to continue this case to January 9th of 2023.
Okay, I've got a motion to continue this case to January 9th.
I move that we continue this case to January 9th.
I will second that.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we will do that on January 9th.
Was it January 9th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Clerk, next case,
The
please.
next case is 42 to 44 Summer Street, zoned R2. Request for a special permit in accordance with Section 30 and for a finding in accordance with Section 3.12 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow the expansion of an existing grandfathered nursing home / memory care facility use to accommodate 30 additional nursing beds. Request is made by Danvers MC Owner LLC and Gambrell LLC, docket 22-4987.
Okay, and Attorney McCann, before you get started, after some discussion and some thought, I am going to recuse myself from this case. I'm going to ask Becky Kilborn to act as chair to take this case through. And I will appoint, for the record, Georgia, Corrine Doherty. I will ask that you vote on this case in my absence. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here on behalf of the applicants. Also with me tonight is Brendan Mallon, who is manager of Gambrell LLC. This is our third hearing before the Board of Appeals. We've had a lot of meetings on this application, and again, this is our third meeting with the Board of Appeals. We've had a number of meetings with the Preservation Commission and the Historic District Commission as well as additional meetings with planning staff. We met with you back initially in July. We met again with you in October at the October 17 meeting, and at that meeting we presented to you our responses to some of the comments that we had heard at the initial meeting from neighborhoods with members with regard to operations and the actions that have been taken by the operator to address those items, such as employee issues regarding parking and noise and smoking and that kind of thing that had been addressed in a number of ways by the operator, as well as some landscaping requests to deal with some landscaping on the property, specifically on 42 Summer Street. We received comments both at the July meeting as well as the October meeting, and on November 7th I submitted a revised plan to you that was put together by the applicant, taking into consideration comments and the result of our withdrawal of the lot area variance at the October meeting, and to address some of the concerns that we had heard. And so the revised plan, Georgia, can you put the plan up, please, is the result of this public hearing process and responding to some of those comments. So through the course of the hearing, we have made some significant revisions to the plan. The first is that 42 Summer Street and the historic dwelling will be located on a lot that is fully conforming. It is a lot that exceeds 20,000 square feet, having 20,065 square feet, and the required frontage on Summer Street. So that the historic dwelling is on a lot that's fully conforming. No zoning relief is required from this board relative to the location of the existing historic dwelling. The second change that we made relates to the expansion of the nursing home. We had requested an expansion of the existing memory care facility, which is a grandfathered use, to allow 30 new general nursing home beds. That was the original application. We have revised that application to decrease the number of beds from 30 beds down to 21. And we have revised the application such that these are not general nursing home beds, but rather an expansion of the existing non-conforming memory care beds. So what we are requesting is an expansion of the memory care facility, the grandfathered memory care facility, to add 21 additional beds. There are currently 60 beds. You'll recall, some of you, back, we came before you in 2013 when this had been a 100-bed nursing home. And at that time, we received a finding to reduce the number of beds to 60 beds and designate those as memory care. And what we're requesting tonight is to expand that non-conforming use, not back up to the original 100, but to add 21 memory care beds in the new addition. The new addition is fully conforming to all of the dimensional and setback requirements. We are also fully conforming to the parking requirements under Section 10 of the zoning bylaw. So that is a significant change. The addition is smaller. The number of employees required for the additional 21 beds is smaller than the original proposal of 30 additional beds, and the use, again, is limited to memory care. So the entire facility, the existing beds and the 21 new beds, would be for memory care housing for seniors with memory care issues. The proposed addition, again, is smaller than what was originally proposed, and it will be located behind the historic dwelling, which will remain, and it's going to remain, again, on its own lot, fully conforming 20,000 square foot lot as required in the R2 zoning district. So I submitted that revised application and plan on November 7th, and following that, I had a meeting with planning staff and with the zoning administrator as the code enforcement officer for the town. And it was his determination that a special permit is actually not required because we are expanding an existing non-conforming use and not adding a new nursing home use. So what is required in the determination of the zoning administrator for the town is a finding. And you should have, he had indicated he was going to provide that opinion to you in writing, and I suspect that he did that. So the standard for expansion of a nonconforming use is that the proposed use, in this case, an additional 21 memory care beds in a fully conforming addition on a fully conforming lot, will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing 60 nursing home beds. And with that, I will add, should the finding be granted, of course, this addition will have to go through site plan approval with the planning board, where all site plan type of issues would be addressed. Brendan Mallon, the manager and owner of the property, has a presentation that he would like to make to you and to go through the reasons for and the need for the additional memory care beds. So if I can, I will turn it over to
Yes,
Brendan.
thank you.
Thank you.
I think I can just share my screen.
Brendan, do you want me to stop sharing the plan?
Yeah, it made me accept some setting and,
Okay.
and have to
Are you gonna
quit and
project
rejoin,
something?
so it's making me quit and rejoin.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, hold on. Sorry.
While he's doing that, can I just,
Can you see my screen?
maybe he's got it. No?
Becky,
Is
oh,
the-
hi. Did we read in the letters, did we read in the letters from the abutters?
Not yet.
No, we won't do that yet until we go to the audience for,
Okay.
into the comments. Yeah.
Okay.
It says I'm sharing the screen,
We
but
will.
I don't know if it's not
Thanks.
allowing it on your end. No. Try it again. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's shared on my end. You have to give me permission to.
Sorry, say
It's shared on my end, it's just, I don't know if you have to give me permission or something.
that. It's, looks exactly like
It says I'm
that.
presenting.
My screen looks the same as that.
Let me just try it one more time, hold on. Yeah, I can just email it to you.
Nancy, let me just, if,
What's
for
the email?
clarification, I just want to go through what it is we need to withdraw or, while they sort that out.
Technology is great when it works.
Pardon me?
Technology is great when it works.
When it works. Okay, so, you withdrew, I'm just gonna try to, it's also for the audience because we have neighbors here. So, when you were here at the last meeting, you had the, historical house on a 12,000 square foot lot. You've now increased the lot size to 20,000 square feet, which is conforming. So because of that, you don't need any additional approvals or any approvals from us because that house now exists on a conforming 20,000 square foot lot. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the only approvals that you would need or anything would be the planning board? Do you need anything from the
It's not
planning
an
board for
approval.
that
They
lot?
they would endorse an A&R plan.
Okay,
An approval not required
okay,
plan. It's a formality.
Okay.
And that has been submitted to them, and that will happen tomorrow night. Oh, look at you.
okay. All right, go ahead. I'll go back through it again.
Is this on? Yeah, okay. So, Brendan Mallon, Gambrell LLC. So, I just put together a couple slides, I think, based on all the stuff we did in the past. I think one of the things that got overlooked is why we're here for the expansion.
Okay, that's good.
I think I
Always a
wanted.
good thing.
Yeah, it's always a good thing. I think, as Nancy mentioned, back in 2013, we purchased the old nursing home. We're a small family-owned business, as much as, you know, it doesn't maybe seem like that. This is the only community that we do own.
Okay.
We don't own any other community. We don't plan to own any other communities. We did this as having, my father and I having a lot of experience in senior living. We worked for a couple national companies, and we, going through.
Wanted to do your own thing.
Yeah, going through the Alzheimer's process with our grandmother, we wanted to do our own thing with a small kind of boutique setup. So this opportunity
Can
came up.
everybody hear him?
This
okay.
opportunity came up, and that's kind of how we ended up here in 2013. So these are the people that have worked on the project so far. It's just me. Nancy's our attorney. Hancock has done the engineering originally, and they're also have been doing the engineering on the expansion. And JSA out of Portsmouth also did the initial architecture. We actually won some awards in that building for the. We actually made a few of the architect magazines for the best courtyard in the back for a renovation project in senior living. So they'll be continue to work on, and they'll be part of the expansion. So again, I think we touched on this, we're putting 21 new beds in that expansion, but in the net sum, it's technically a net ask of 16, because we have 55 in the existing, even though we have an approval for 60. We only use 55. We're going to add 21. So I don't know if that modifies, Nancy, what we're changing, but technically our total will be 76. We're already approved for 60. As I pointed out, our ownership group is a small group of local investors that, like I said, we only own this one community. And the main reason we're here is as much as we'd love to, continue operating the community that we have, just given the cost of labor and everything that's going up, memory care has a sweet spot to operate, and you'll see if you do your homework on it that that sweet spot really is, it's about 60 to 76, depending on the time in the market and the conditions. When you start to, right now we're at 55, it becomes a challenge operationally. So part of the reason we're here is to allow us to operate more effectively and efficiently for the residents, and by doing that, it allows us to bring on the revenue for 21 beds, but that allows us to put that money and services back into the community in terms of the things that we can offer to our existing residents. So it's not, we're not here as a money grab. We actually, just for the record, we haven't put $1 in our personal pocket from this building. Just so that's clear for the record, we're not don't want to be painted as the same as, the big corporate guys making a bunch of money, because that's not really what's happening here. And part of doing this is going to help us, be able to provide Alzheimer's and memory care for local and area residents, into the future. And that was kind of always our plan. There's a lot of discussions about, the locations that these places get put in. We actually, we strive to put it in a residential neighborhood. I think part of the programming that we do there is anyone who's a resident that lives there, they deserve to live in the community they grew up in. And part of doing that is living in a residential, or a transitional type area. And so that's actually part of our programming that we do there. Part of the ability for people to, have positive breakthroughs with Alzheimer's and dementia is being able to reminisce about the neighborhood they lived in when they're on the patio, when they're looking out their window and they can see the rooftop. So as much as, there's that balance of not wanting it in a residential neighborhood and having it, it really does provide a tremendous amount of value to the way they take care of the people in the community, being in that, whether it's going out for a walk or whether it's being able to see it. So it's actually, we look for those areas much as kind of feeling like we got forced in that area. So that's a little bit different for a nursing home. I mean, I can't speak to what was the 100-bed that was there before. Nursing, I think so. But for us, for Alzheimer's and for memory care, it's part of our programming to be in the residential neighborhood. That's where we want to be. And we try to be a good neighbor doing that, obviously, but that's part of the programming. So you can see here that, I've just laid out some points. It's important for residents, local residents and area residents, to live in a building that's in the neighborhood, and it allows them to, like I said, to reminisce and talk about all the different times that and things that they remember from when they grew up in that area. And the other main piece I wanted to discuss tonight is really the statistics. So we can talk about where they should or shouldn't be and kind of all those different discussions, but I think that some of these statistics, people kind of kick the can down the road, and I think when you really look at them, they're actually astonishing. And this is factual information off the government's website. It's not something I made up. But at the end of the day, when we came in 2013, these were actually being cited as of like 65 years old. So now we're 10 years later, and the exact numbers still hold true from when we gave this presentation in 2013, that now, as of 2021, you can see that, or as of 2020, the 65-year-old in population has grown to 59 million. So the numbers, and you can see summarized there, that population is now turning 75. Our average person coming in is between the ages of 80 and 82. So in the next couple of years, you have 10,000 seniors a day that will turn 75. Every single day for 40 years straight. So it's not this little problem for a small window. It's a big problem for a big window. And part of what we're doing is, you know, we're a small community, right? But if we can help, you know, soften that, it actually helps for towns as well. I know most state, federal, and local are all having discussions about these things and how they're going to deal with their senior populations and whether they're, you know, coming up with programs to fund that through the town, or, you know, it's going to be a combination of town resources and private resources that'll get it done. So, you know, I always say kind of let that sink in, because it's real. And the kind of joke there is I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there's a well-known, you know, China has the same problem. And there's a gentleman, you know, a visionary in China that I think coined the name Silver Tsunami, but, you know, they have the problem tenfold than us. And some people think it's, you know, that while we're going to help maybe trying to build units, that there's still a bigger.
So we want to talk about this project, so
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, and that, again, just
Okay.
explains to you the growth chart that we talked about. So I think that, and again, this also gives you, again, this is the need and why we need our additional units, you know. So it shows you here that, again, as well, you know, annually, 55% of adults over 85 in the United States alone have been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's or some version thereof, and that's, again, not according to me, that's according to Lancet. Some of the project breakdown stuff, so it's an additional 15,700 square feet, broken between 2 stories. There's 21 additional units that are in that expansion, and they're, you know, they range from 300 to 400 square feet. The exterior of the new addition is going to complement the existing building, and as Nancy mentioned, we'll go through the process with planning board to kind of vet out exactly what finishes and materials they want to see. We have some activity in dining and community spaces, but we will not be adding any commercial kitchen space. All the space that we're adding is just living space to live in or activity space. And then in terms of the you know, the impact, if any, is extremely negligible. I mean, so because we have all the kind of standards and provisions in place in the existing community, for the staff that we need, we run a ratio. You have to run a ratio about 7 to 1. So we'll add 3 additional care staff, 3 to 4. We don't add any additional overhead. We don't add any additional, you know, other employees other than the direct care staff are the only people that get added. And as Nancy mentioned, those, you know, we meet the parking ratios to accommodate that. And then we also, and then in addition to that, you know, as much as everyone would love to hope that people visit every day, they just really don't. And at the end of the day, we anticipate that the additional 21 beds are probably going to generate maybe 5 additional visits a week, is what our, based on, we looked briefly at the numbers from what we're getting in traffic in the other community, in the existing community. And so, you know, we feel that overall that the project is not any more detrimental impact to the community or to the neighborhood. Again, we're a resident of Danvers now with our building and our business, and much like some of the other applications we heard through the process, we're looking to expand to be able to provide additional services to people in town at the community. We've been here for 10 years. So this isn't a new application or a purchase type scenario. And then in terms of the only other typical impacts that you would expect would be deliveries. So I reconfirmed again tonight, you know, with the staff that's there, we will not have any additional deliveries. We checked with the suppliers that we have now, and because the size of the community was already small, they're able to accommodate the additional food, the additional, you know, dry goods on the trucks that they have now at the frequency that they have now. So none of those will go up. The trash pickup will not go up. We did recently increase the trash pickup due to some of the comments about smell to try to accommodate that, and we can always adjust that as needed. So in terms of deliveries, trash pickup, the things that you would think impact, none of those are going to change. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is I think when we came here in 2013, everyone here came out in support of it, because because it's in my backyard, it's less than what it's there, great,
Right.
I want it. And we didn't, I don't believe, and Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, we could have opened as a 100-bed nursing home. We chose to reduce down to the minimal we thought we could get by with to try to help the neighborhood. And we're only here back asking for what I consider a very small amount. I think through the process, we've tried to be good neighbors. We've addressed some of the maintenance issues on the historical home. We continue to still try to do that. It's on regular maintenance as well. We've addressed, the smoking, the noise, and I will say that prior to our initial application, we have never had one complaint that I know of from the town. We checked with the building inspector. The only issue we ever had that was documented was a light issue with a neighbor, and maybe not as timely as we had hoped, but we did get it addressed, and we accommodated as much as we could. We put up light shields to try to help the light that was spilling, what they felt was spilling over into their yard. But prior to that, you had 20-foot pole electric lights that we had reduced to smaller ones, and we still went forward to try to make it better. So I think I told everyone last time that everyone has my cell phone, my card's, I think, been around. I don't know, the staff there will tell me if something needs addressing. They have never had a phone call yet, and I implore everybody to always,
Okay.
if they do have an issue, to always call me. And we
So,
really
Brandon,
do try
so
to pride
why-
ourselves in
yeah,
taking care of
So
it.
just sort of to wrap it up,
Yep.
and, I think that the neighborhood's here again.
Yep.
So I'm sure they're going to have comments for us tonight, and I'm hoping that you've addressed a lot of things that they brought here over the last few months. And if not, then we can have a conversation about it.
Sure.
When they
And I
make
think,
their
yeah,
comments, okay?
I just wanted to
And
recap on the
I appreciate that
need,
you
so.
brought all that information, because I
No
think it's
problem.
important. And we're all getting older, so we need to look at those
Yeah, it's something you don't want to kick the can down the
statistics.
road, for sure. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay, thanks, Brandon.
I will get off your thing as soon as I figure it out.
So again, I think Brandon gave you a lot of information. We're looking at a conforming addition to the existing building. We're looking at expanding the existing non-conforming use. It's going to require 3 to 4 employees, but no additional delivery trips. Those can be accommodated within the existing deliveries that already come to the site, and allows us to keep the historic home. So for those reasons, we would suggest to you that what we're proposing is not only needed, but would not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Okay.
Be happy to answer
So
any
can
questions.
I just go again back through, just for everybody's information? So you had a memory care facility, and you purchased a historical house, and this is also for Katie, because she's new to this process. And your intention was to take most of the land from the historical house and put it with the memory care facility. Going through that process, it ended up that a lot size for that district is 20,000 square feet. You're now putting 20,000 square feet with that house, and that approval from this board is no longer required in order to separate that house lot, just for the neighbor's perspective. It's an approval not required subdivision of the land, which only needs approval from the planning board, and because it's a conforming lot. So the rest of the land is going to go with the nursing home, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And you had also asked for a special permit in order for that to be nursing home beds, so that the original request was for 60 memory care beds, which exist, and then add on 30 more.
The original proposal was the existing memory care designated
Right.
beds, and then 30 general nursing home beds. Because
Right.
remember, nursing home use is a permitted use in the R2 zoning district.
Right.
So we were asking for the special permit. It's permitted, but it's permitted by special permit, for 30 general nursing home beds.
Right. And you now,
We have revised that
right,
to reduce the number to 21
right,
and to not have general nursing home beds, but rather continue the existing use,
of memory
which
care.
is memory care. And it's a specific designation of memory care beds. And
Okay.
as a result of not adding the nursing home, general nursing home use, but rather keeping the existing non-conforming use, but expanding it, the zoning administrator believes we require just a finding rather
do not
than
need
both
a
the finding
special
and the
permit.
special permit. So
Right.
the special permit would no longer be needed, only the finding.
You're withdrawing your request for a
We would
special
withdraw
permit.
that as part of the decision process.
Okay, all right. And with regard to what's an allowed use within that zoning district, it was your opinion and the opinion of the planning department that nursing home beds require a special permit. But since you're not doing nursing home beds, the memory care, if it was a blank piece of land and you were building memory care, your belief is that that's a residential use and would be allowed?
It would require a special permit.
It would require a special
Yes.
permit? Okay,
If we had a vacant piece of property.
Right.
But we don't.
okay,
We have a grandfathered, formerly 100 bed down to 60 bed.
okay,
That's grandfathered, and under 48 Section 6 and Section 3 of the zoning bylaw,
Okay.
we are expanding a nonconforming use, and that's done in Danvers by finding.
okay. So the only thing we're looking for is it would not be substantially more detrimental than what
Correct.
presently exists. Okay,
Correct.
All
And
right, we're gonna
the
go to the
other, the other item I will mention, because we mentioned it at the Historic District Commission meeting, is that should the finding be granted, we would be withdrawing the demolition permit application for the historic home.
okay,
And we would accept that as a condition, and we represented that to the Preservation Commission as well as the Historic Commission.
okay. All right. All right. Should I start with Jeff?
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
Attorney McCann, I do have one question. The present allowable use is 60 beds?
Correct, that's the grandfathered use under the
And
2013.
you're only using 55 at the moment.
Yes.
So this 21, does that make it 21 on top of the 60 or 21 on top of the 55?
Brendan represented earlier that it was 21 on top of the 55.
So technically, you're only asking for 16 additional?
Yeah, because we have approval for 5 that we're not using in our existing approval.
Because this is an important distinction, because it's either a total of 81 or a total of
76.
76. Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions, thank you.
All right, Ken?
So the original proposed addition is how different than this new proposed addition?
This proposed addition is smaller.
Oh, can you bring that up again on the
The
screen?
original or the
No, the new one,
new one?
please. Thank you.
A little bit of a lag here.
They were asking for 30, and now they're asking for 30 beds. Now they're asking for 21.
Yeah, I just want to see
And the building
the,
size is smaller.
so how many square feet was this original proposed addition?
Ooh, boy. The original, do you remember, Brendan? What is proposed now is set back further from Summer Street, and it will also be back behind the historic home, which is being retained. And the new addition is going to be about 126 feet from Summer Street. So it's set back quite a ways from Summer Street.
The original one, if you remember, came all the way up to
There's a dimension on that, I think. It's 126 feet.
It went from 25,500 to 17,485, I believe. I can't read this
Yep.
number that great. So 25,000 and change to 17.
7,500 square feet less.
Right,
7,500 square feet less,
ballpark.
ballpark.
And significantly further back.
So what about the side setback? Same?
This,
It's within, it's conforming.
yeah, it's fully
Oh, it's
conforming.
It's allowed.
Mhm.
Okay, I have no other questions. Thanks.
I'm gonna go to Corinne. Corinne, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
I am confused with regard to the square footage because in the presentation that Mr. Mellon just gave, he stated that the square footage of the revised edition is now 15,700 square feet. And I believe the original proposal was around 17,500 square feet. So I'm not sure where the 25,000 came from. So could someone, I'm not sure, Attorney McCann or Mr. Mellon, who's the person who would have that information, but does anyone know what the original plan square footage was for the addition?
Give
The
me a
number, the 15 I
moment.
was citing is actual net living space.
We can't hear you unless you're near the microphone, sir.
I think relative to the new plan, the 15,000 that I had in my notes from my architect, I believe is the actual net usable living space versus the 17,000, which is the actual footprint, I believe. So I think that's potentially that discrepancy. And the 25, I think,
That's lot size.
yeah,
It's lot.
he was talking lot
I'm
size, not
talking
building
lot
size.
size.
Right,
Went from 25,000 down to 17.
Yeah, so, oh, that's lot size, okay.
right. That's.
Yeah,
that's
so
where
my
it got a little
15,000 is right then. So the 17,000 is lot size. It went from a 25,000 square foot lot to a 17,000 square foot lot, roughly. Not
So-
building footage. The original
Okay.
building footage we have to confirm, which I'll do right
The
now.
original building footage I had noted was roughly 17,000
Yeah,
square feet.
17,000. So, and the new building footage is, like I said, I have it. I'll double check it.
15,700?
Yeah, that's what I have in my notes, yeah.
That's the footprint or the square footage? 'Cause
That's the
it's
square
two
footage.
stories, right?
Right,
Correct.
it's 2 stories.
It's combined.
I'm sorry.
It's 2 stories, so the 15,000 is the total square footage. So each story would be about
7,500.
Let me
Okay.
confirm on the,
Okay.
So if you're reducing the beds by about a third, how come the size of the building or the addition is still staying so large? If you're reducing the amount of beds, that means you're reducing the amount of, rooms plus, bathroom facilities and all of that. So I'm just wondering why the structure is still so big if you're reducing your beds by almost a third.
So the beds average between the high 200s to the high 300s. So we're taking out 10 beds at, call it 300 feet apiece, is 3,000 feet, and that's it. So we're not taking out, the common space is not changing. So that's why I think why the reduction in footage seems smaller, because it's only just the units. 10 units.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
how big is the common space then? The common area, like what's the square footage of your common space? And I'm assuming that's kind of like a recreation room?
Yeah, so right in the corner of the building, in the L there, we have an activities room, a dining room, and a common space room, and then an entrance that would have like a reception spot. So I'd have to do the math to figure out exactly what that is, but then you have circulation, hallway space, all of that gets that's included in that common space footage, as well as along with the connector there that connects the two buildings. I believe there's an ADA compliant scenario in there with a ramp to make sure it's compliant. That takes up a substantial amount of space as well. But
And you mentioned that as part of the common space, you would also have a dining room. Will that be a dining room for the additional beds, or will that be a new dining room for all of the patients?
No, so the way we memory care is managed is managed in neighborhoods, and every operator kind of has a different scenario and how they do it. But our building currently is broken up right now into 2 neighborhoods. So the Y shape of the existing building is one neighborhood, and the long leg in the back is an existing neighborhood. So this will be a 3rd neighborhood. The dining room is just for the new residents, and the way we just for semantics, we still cook everything in the commercial kitchen. And then we bring it out to each dining room, and people eat, family style at tables. And that new dining room will just be for the residents within the new space. And that will be considered our 3rd neighborhood, if you want to look at it that way. That's kind of the way we will manage it operationally as a neighborhood.
So each one of the neighborhoods, based on your numbers, has approximately 25 patients. Is that correct?
Yeah, roughly. So our existing building, we were kind of stuck to the footprint that we had. So the neighborhoods in the existing one right now are broken up as 27 is in the Y-shaped building in the front. There's 10 in each wing and 7 in the back. And then the remaining, we have 47 units, but 55 beds. The remaining beds, so 55 minus 27 is the 2nd neighborhood. I'd have to do that math quick, but it's roughly, about the same. It's roughly 25. So we try to stay, again, in the perfect world, we try to stay around between 20 and 25 a neighborhood. But what we had in the existing building, we just kind of had to work with the numbers that we had.
Okay, thank you very much.
Katie, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
You don't have any questions? Okay, all right. And I don't think I have any more questions. Do you have anything else that you want to?
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to go to the audience for questions and comments. We also have some letters. If you didn't come, we might have a letter from somebody else. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, just give us your name and your address, please. Thank you.
So my name is Jennifer Lovell, and I live directly across from 42 Summer Street at 43 Summer Street. I am concerned about the addition that the nursing home is proposing. The current facility already is detrimental to the neighborhood in many ways. The facility just doesn't fit in our neighborhood as is. Regularly, there are fire, ambulance, and police. They respond to medical calls, and it is disrupting to the neighborhood. Having these, adding 21 more beds, would increase the burden of EMS services to include police, fire, and ambulance. I just kind of want to give you a feel as to what we experience living in the neighborhood with the community now. Automobile alarms go off all hours of the day. They have not really taken care of the property's curb appeal. I know they came one time. I have not seen them come back to take care of the property.
I'm sorry.
Oh, can you hear?
What'd you just say? What, they didn't come back for what?
I have not seen them come back to maintain the property.
What property?
They're 42 Summer Street.
Okay, so that's not part of this application, all right? That's totally resolved now.
Right.
That the historical home on 20,000 square foot lot is an approved use, and that is not part of this application. The only
Okay,
thing that's part of this, just to
I will
be
skip
clear.
that part. I just wanted to kind of give you a feel for as what, we're
Okay,
experiencing.
Okay, so I want you to address anything with
I will.
regard to the memory care.
So that side of the street is the only side of the street that has a sidewalk. The additional increased traffic entering and exiting the property for both staff and visitors would increase. That side of the street, neighborhood, kids walk to school. There's 2 schools in the community that use that side of the street, so I'm concerned with safety issues with an increase, EMS calls, traffic. I know they said that there would be increased staff as well, coming and going at all times of the day. As it is, they pull in front of my house, they park in my driveway, they park across the street. My husband said the other day there was a car in our driveway waiting for someone to get picked up from work for 30 minutes. I'm not sure why. There's commercial snow and trash removal, continuous backup alarms that we hear, especially in the winter during snowstorms, and there's a big noise difference between commercial and residential snow and trash removal. Another concern that I have is the town had significant water restrictions this spring and summer, so adding 21 more beds to a large facility would impact this drastically. It would add additional stress on the water supply. And I guess my concern is just because, they need to, add more beds to make it financially better for them. I just don't think it fits into our neighborhood. It will just be more detrimental to the neighborhood as it is. They once told us that the sweet spot to making money was to add those additional beds. So I just feel like don't make this about money, just like save our neighborhood, think about all of the neighbors that live there. And I guess my questions to the board are, why is this an appropriate location for this larger facility? How will it not continue to adversely affect the neighborhood with a size increase? How will the expanded facility and increased operation not be an undue nuisance to the neighborhood? And I guess personally, what would you want? Would you want this across the street from your house in your neighborhood? So just some
Can you give
things to
just,
think about.
one or two specific, I know you're giving us general information, and the water, we can't do anything about that. The town is.
Right.
It's
It's just a concern I have
everything
adding.
be built, doesn't, I'm frustrated with it myself, so.
Right.
But just one or two specific things that maybe you can talk about that you feel is happening there that's affecting you?
I just think, the
I have a
noise.
long list, but.
Right, I know. I mean, I can go back through it. I'm concerned about, just the increased traffic to our neighborhood, and I just don't see the concern why they need to add the additional beds to
Okay.
the existing facility.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else would like to speak? Yes.
Hi, my name's Marianne Owen. I live at 36 Summer Street, so I am directly next to 42 Summer Street.
Okay.
And then I see the nursing home. It is right next to me in between Gail and Charlie's driveway, but I see the nursing home from my backyard.
Okay.
So I've had a long history with that nursing home. I worked there as a teenager. I think I told you that in the last meeting that we had. And I don't really have a problem with the nursing home as it is, or the memory care facility, with the footprint that it has today. I understand that it was 100 beds, and that they chose, and they knew their sweet spot then for what their beds were to make money, and they still chose to lower their bed numbers, and now they want to almost double the footprint and still not make to 100 beds. So I'm really having a hard time where, why is it that the neighborhood now has to take the hit of dealing with a significantly larger building and still not having enough beds that the original footprint had? So that's one of my concerns. Another concern that I have is there's a significant nursing shortage across the nation. In Massachusetts, the nursing shortage alone is over 13.6%. That has doubled since 2019.
Are you talking about nurses?
I'm
or
talking about
nursing home
nurses.
beds?
Specifically nurses, RNs, the ones that are required to, the ones that are required to work and care for patients.
Okay.
The workforce shortage is also incredibly severe and will be severe in 2030. And that is a huge impact. So you allow them to, and I don't know if allow them is the correct term, but if you allow them to build this building and then they can't fill the beds because they don't have the staff, then I have to, and the rest of my neighbors
Really?
have to look at an empty building.
I understand. We just can't.
So I just want to be able to give my
It's okay,
concerns
you
and my
can say it,
reasons.
yeah.
So
I understand.
I just think that the other thing is that the community hospitals do a community needs assessment every 3 years. There is a Beverly Hospital Community Needs Assessment Report that was brought out in 2022, and there was a Salem Hospital Community Needs Report that was published in 2021. In both of those reports, which are over 200 pages, which I have read, there is not a need in Danvers for memory care nursing home facilities. Danvers alone has 6 nursing homes, which has over 530 beds. Within my address, in 10 miles, there are over 30 nursing homes. Adding more
You know, we
homes to
can't deal with
this.
the business aspect of this. We can only deal with.
But what I'm saying is that I'm being surrounded by nursing facilities in a neighborhood.
Okay.
And I'm asking you to put that into consideration of the needs of he specifically said that there was a need for this. And I'm telling you, I don't believe that there's a need for it, for
Okay.
those services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? You're good?
No, I'm good.
I'm not, okay. Yes.
Gail Eaton, I live at 40 Summer Street. I can't really see this that well. Brendan, I wanted to know, how far will the historical building be from the existing new 2-story facility?
Brendan, can you say it into the microphone?
It's roughly 70 feet, so it's 55 feet to the property line of where the setback is, and then the setback's 15 feet, so it's roughly 70 feet from building to building.
So 70, can you just point it out a little bit? Just,
Yeah, perfect, here we go. So you can see the original building was way up here, so now from the corner of the existing building all the way to this building, if you add these two numbers together, it's about 70 feet from the back of the existing historical house to where the new building will be. That also is, for reference, 126 feet off the edge of the street on our side, if you don't include the street.
okay, so it's 70 feet,
Yep.
70 feet from the existing building
The back of
over.
the existing house to the
About how high, what's the height difference? Because that's quite a high
Yeah, so actually
historical home.
The grade drops down substantially, so the
Right.
historical home, I think in the original, we didn't redo the elevation, but in the original elevation, the historical home is higher than this because of the grade. There's like a 6 to 8 foot
Brandon,
drop
could
off.
you just say that into the microphone?
sure.
If you could.
Yeah, so our height will be compliant, obviously, with
So
the zoning
new
district, which is
nursing home, 2-story nursing home, because of the way the land drops down, will be lower than the height of the,
historical house. Yeah,
Historical
it'll
home.
perceive,
okay,
but we'll still be compliant with the zoning district of
okay.
30 feet or under, I think
Okay.
is what it is. But it perceives lower when you look at the elevation because of the way the grade
And
is.
just repeat the distances.
And the distance is, again, from the back of the existing historical house to the proposed addition is roughly 70 feet. And again, the setback off the street to the proposed addition is 126 feet,
Okay, thank you.
which is a substantial, I guess, increase in how far back it was from the
Okay.
original one.
Anything else? She's-
You want me to read these 2 letters in?
Did you have anything else? No. Anybody else? We have 2 letters that we're going to read in also.
Yeah, we're in receipt of 2 letters from abutters, both of them in opposition of this project. The first one is from Sarah and Jeff D'Antonio of 14 Kenmore Drive. And the second one is from Brianna Sullivan of 2 Innis Drive, both in opposition of this project.
Is there anything else you'd?
I think the application that you have before you, that as it has been revised, and as we've discussed tonight, proposing a total then of 76 beds, from 60 to existing to 76 beds is what the applicant is is proposing on a property. This property, 44 Summer Street, has been a nursing home since 1960. Prior to that, it was a motel. And we are proposing an addition that is fully compliant and a small number of additional beds that are going to result in 3 to 4 employees, additional employees coming to the site. That is not going to be substantially more detrimental or even impactful, given there is traffic on Summer Street.
It's a busy street.
It's the street to St. John's Prep. It's the street to another elementary school. Adding 3 or 4 employees is not going to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. As Brendan indicated, deliveries are going to be accommodated under their current schedule, so there will not be an additional number of deliveries or anything like that. The proposed structure is a permitted structure in this zoning district, and it has been designed to be conforming to the requirements of the zoning bylaw. So again, I would suggest to the board that with the revisions that we've made to the plan in response to comments throughout this public hearing process, the proposed expansion of the memory care facility will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing memory care facility. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go to the board for deliberations. We'll start with Jeff. Aren't you happy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, it's a difficult case, and the legal question we're trying to answer is this more detrimental than what presently exists? And I appreciate the applicant's revision to the plan. I think it's a much stronger plan. The board did not like the historic house on a non-conforming lot. There are obviously things that the neighbors are unhappy about. You've been able to address some of those things. There are some things that the neighbors complain about that you can't address. EMS calls and sirens, and for that reason, I can't imagine why this is not going to be more detrimental than what presently exists. So I'm a no.
Again, like Jeff said, this is a unique situation. I mean, this building is in a neighborhood. It's not a big building next to other commercial buildings and whatnot. As we've seen, tons of letters of opposition, tons of the neighbors not wanting this project. I just can't see the expansion of this creating a World War III. I'm a no.
Ken?
Yeah, so I think the proposed addition is still pretty big. I know you're going up less. You're going up 21 from 30 originally proposed. But the building is still, it's only like 1,500 square feet less than our proposed addition. I still didn't see the 15,500 plan. I mean, that was still the 17,000 square foot plan up there from before, so I couldn't even really see what it would look like. But in any event, I think it will be maybe not incredibly substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, but I think it will be more detrimental to the neighborhood, like my colleagues have stated, and I'm a no.
Corinne?
I agree with Ken. I believe that the structure is too big, and I agree that the way it's proposed, it's definitely much more detrimental than what exists now. So I am also a no.
Katie?
I think if you focus on the standard, is it substantially more detrimental than it is now? Based on the comments and what the neighbors' concerns are, I think as it is detrimental to where you live. Some of the neighbors chose to live there, knowing that the facility was there. So I think existing, if it seems detrimental. I don't think adding those additional beds would make it substantially more detrimental. So I'd be inclined to allow it.
And, I mean, I agree with Katie. I think that you know what you have. I think it does have some detriment to the neighborhood. But adding this addition, I don't think it would be substantially more detrimental. I have had comments, one of my neighbors went there. I hear only good things about this facility. There's a lot of bad things coming out of a lot of other facilities, and I've heard all good comments about this facility, and I think it's important to keep that in perspective. We need these kinds of facilities, and I think that it wouldn't be more substantially detrimental than what presently exists. I think it would be bigger, something would be added. One comment that I would make is that there's 60 beds there now and you've asked for 21, but you're only using 55. So would it be, and I don't know if it would make a difference to anybody else on the board, but to go to 76 units, beds instead of 81, which is what you're requesting? Because
yes, I modified that request in my summary, that we were looking to go to 76.
okay, because
beds.
they're only using 55 of the 60,
Correct.
plus the 21 new beds. So you're willing to accept 76
Yes,
instead of 81?
yes. And since the 911 calls were brought up, if I can respond to that comment, Brendan did a search at the police department for not just police department, but for the emergency call records. And they actually, according to his information, correct me if I'm wrong, Brendan, he had a 90-day period which was the period of time that they could pull up for us, and it averaged 1.5 calls a week. I'm providing the information that we received from the fire and emergency services. So I just
And I
put that
typically
out.
see that within town, they don't run their sirens unless they're
That's right.
in an intersection, so.
That's right. So
Okay, so you don't have the votes, so,
I don't know if the information that we just discussed changes any.
make any difference that it's 76?
Not to me.
Not to me.
No,
Okay.
we already heard that, I think.
It's more the size of the building, I think.
Okay,
Let me speak to my client
Okay.
for a second, please.
all right.
So I was just curious relative to the size discussion. Is there a size that you're willing to accept?
It's really hard for us to do that. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm
you
just-
kind of have to come back with a,
Sure, I can. I just want to go at it with parameters that,
all right. We're
that
just going to take a few more minutes here, and
Sure.
if there's anything that anybody wants to say.
because we
Corinne,
are
do
willing
you
to
have any
reduce the
comment
size.
on- You talked about the size. Corinne?
I mean, we would have to see a plan to see where it would be situated and, what the square footage would be.
Are you
I would have to
concerned
see
about
the
footprint
plan
or
before.
the height?
I just don't want to throw out a number.
Okay. Are you concerned about the footprint or the height?
I'm concerned about the square footage and just the size of it.
Okay.
I mean, 15,000 square feet for roughly 16 more beds seems excessive.
Okay.
We appreciate the board's time on this, and we've had a lot of meetings. We've had a lot of meetings with different boards and with staff. What we would like to do is request a continuance to your first meeting in January, which will
ninth.
allow us time, hopefully, to see if we can reduce the size of the building. It doesn't seem that the number of beds is perhaps the issue, but the size of the building. We'll see if that's possible.
Okay.
And if it
Can I
is,
say
we'll
something?
submit revised plans.
Go ahead.
Sorry. It probably is the number of beds as well, because that's going to be the frequency of 911 calls and disturbances, and then also, more nurses and such. So I think a huge consideration for me is, and probably, the other members as well, is the neighbors. So, I mean, I'm just saying because it is located in a residential area. So in 2013, they reduced, and the neighbors were all fine with that, and everyone was fine with that, of course. But now you're going more. So I mean, it is detrimental, I believe. And I'm just saying the neighbors, I don't know if they like it, then if they're okay with it, then I'm just saying that's where I sit. So I'm just saying, so just the size of the building, I don't think that's the crux of the whole thing for me. I think it's more like the number of beds, the size of the building, and if the neighbors,
Yeah.
can.
And I guess my response to that are a couple here. This is a grandfathered use. It's been a nursing home since 1960. This property has been a commercial use for many years, even beyond that. It was originally a motel in this neighborhood. It is a residential neighborhood, and this is a residential use. This is where seniors are living who cannot live on their own and who have memory care issues. So it's not as if this is a non-residential use being brought into the residential neighborhood. It exists there already. It has since 1960, but it is a residential use. And the zoning bylaw permits this use. And while it permits it by special permit, it only requires a special permit because this is for-profit. If this were a not for-profit nursing home, we wouldn't be here at all. A not-for-profit nursing home in the R2 zoning district is permitted by right. So that, I think, is a bit questionable from a legal standpoint, in my opinion, that you have that sort of profit or non-for-profit distinction. But in any event, that's what the bylaw says. So it is a use that town meeting understood is appropriate in a residential district. And in the R2 district, this is R2, it's not even R1, and it's a permitted use, either fully by right, if it's nonprofit, or by special permit. So, and the standard, I have to say, is whether what is being proposed is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. The standard is not whether people like it. It just isn't. And
There is discretion there, though. I mean, it's subjective.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
So,
but
but
it
and
is
we've
getting
tried
bigger.
to address these things, and
Right.
more things would be addressed at site plan approval, which I indicated this would have to go through.
Right.
So, based on those comments, Brendan, you've got the choice. We can continue to see if you want to address some of these things, or we take a vote and you would have basis for appeal. So we would
Okay.
request.
Can I have a motion to continue to January 9th?
So moved.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate your time on this.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Becky, for chairing. All right, we will move along to our next case.
Our next case is 99 Andover Street, Route 114 zoned. Request for a variance from section 37.4.E of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow a proposed sign package for new dealership building consisting of 70 plus or minus square feet freestanding sign and 4 new building mounted signs. Request made by Group 1 Realty, Inc., docket 22-5001.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here on behalf of Group 1 Realty LLC.
Bring the mic a little closer.
Oh,
Thank you.
how's that?
I think he needs to turn it up.
Turn it up or something.
Do I turn the mic up?
No.
No.
Okay.
Do you have that power?
I might. I can speak louder. How's that?
Thank you.
Again, Nancy McCann here on behalf of Group 1 Realty LLC. With me tonight remotely is Neil Sander, who is the Group 1 project engineer. You have seen both of us before, specifically on this application. 99 Andover Street is the site of the IRA dealership campus, and on that campus are a number of auto dealerships. And this board has granted many signage variances over the years as dealership buildings have changed, as new dealerships have come in. We have come to you with a modification to the sign package, and that's what we're seeking tonight, is a modification of the dealership sign package to modify the signage specifically for the Subaru dealership. Back in 2019, a new Subaru dealership was proposed and approved through the site plan approval process for a new Subaru dealership. As you know, if you're familiar with the site, which I think most of you are, the original Subaru dealership that's there now was one of the original dealership buildings. It was built in the 80s and 35 plus years old. And so back in 2019, we received the approvals to build a new Subaru dealership further back on the site, and the existing Subaru dealership would be removed. We're at the point of construction where it's getting close for the new dealership to be opened. So we're here requesting signage for the new Subaru dealership. And the existing Subaru dealership has an existing freestanding sign, and it has 4 relatively small attached wall signs on the existing Subaru building. And what we are requesting is to modify the existing freestanding sign and actually make it smaller than what is currently there by about 7 feet. It's going from 78.63 square feet to 70.7 square feet. So that's the freestanding sign for Subaru. It is going to be in the same location, yes.
Can I just interrupt you, just so I don't have to re-ask? Is that the sign we're referring to as E01?
Yes.
Out in the front?
Yes,
And that's the one that's shrinking?
shrinking.
Thank you.
And then what we're proposing, again, the existing Subaru dealership has 4 wall-mounted signs, and we are proposing, again, 4 wall-mounted signs for the new Subaru dealership. So the existing Subaru dealership building will be gone, and the new Subaru dealership will have the 4 attached wall signs. Given the size of the new dealership, by right, we could have 1 sign on the Subaru dealership building that's almost 500 square feet. It would be a huge sign, but that would be permitted by right. What we are requesting is to have 4 smaller signs, and the total of those is under 150 square feet. So it's less than a third of what the signage square footage would be. And this is what we've done on all of the different dealerships at this location, because 1 big wall-mounted sign it would be a very big sign, and it doesn't properly identify the different areas of the building. And this, as you can see, the 4 signs, there's service, there's a little Subaru logo, there's the Subaru sign, and then way at the end, IRA. And that, the total of all 4 of those signs is just 147.34 square feet. So what we're proposing is very much in keeping with what we have at the other dealerships on the campus. And this building is set back quite a ways from the street. So that's the proposal. We're requesting to modify the variance that has been modified many times to reflect the different dealerships. But what's being proposed is a reduction in the freestanding signage and in keeping with the wall-mounted signage that has been approved previously for the Subaru dealership. And I would be happy to answer any questions. Neil, if you wanted to make any other presentation, feel free.
You covered it perfectly, Nancy. I'm available for technical questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Attorney McCann, as somebody who frequents this campus quite a bit, building signs, to me, I guess are helpful, but I find that campus incredibly difficult to navigate. Maybe it's just the nature of it, because it feels like 1,000 cars there. I could be wrong. It might be 5,000 cars there, between used cars and new cars and customers. So, I don't know if I guess have any strong questions around the sign package. I guess I would ask, what is the need for IRA? I mean, you're at IRA. I mean, you're at the IRA Supermall over there. So why do we need IRA on the building?
Because he's on every building.
This board has recognized that auto dealerships have a standard signage that their product, Subaru requires, and then the dealership requires, and we kind of balance these things out. But yeah, you do want the name of the dealership, and it is IRA, and it is very small. I think the IRA portion is
2 feet by 5 feet.
Well, I guess I'm just hearing Bob
10
Spaghetti's voice
10
in
and
my
a half.
head. And
But-
I know he'd be screaming about this, so.
Mr. Bonner, we made the freestanding sign smaller, and I don't often say
Okay,
that.
I'll give you that one. All right, let me turn it, I'm going to start down there with you, Katie.
I don't have any questions.
No questions. Corrine?
I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and Ken.
I have no questions either.
Ken Scholes.
No questions. I'll wait for comments.
Becky?
So just to confirm, they're tearing down the building in the front?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I did drive through there, and I was able to find the building, so.
You're a better person than I.
It almost looks like the same signs that are on the existing building. Are they just moving the existing signs, or are these going to be new signs? You
Well,
don't
there'll
know.
be new spiffier signs, but they're pretty much the same
they look
that-
pretty-
as you had approved
Even the
previously.
freestanding sign looks new.
It was done. In the history, I think you saw Neil put together a very nice history. And it is relatively new, but it's going to be made newer and smaller.
Newer and smaller.
Newer
Yeah.
and smaller.
Okay.
I believe the last time the image was updated at this location was 2014, and that included refacing that freestanding sign.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Becky. And Jeff?
I only have one question, Attorney McCann. I assume these are going to be illuminated channel letters?
Yes.
And what will be the hours of illumination?
They are turned off typically within an hour after closing.
Okay.
That's-
Is that a condition?
We'll take it as a condition. That's basically a standard.
All right.
And closing
no
time's 10 o'clock? 9 o'clock?
Yes. I would say 10 o'clock by
So
the
by
time.
11, they're off.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No further questions.
That's it, Jeff? And I will come out to the public. Anybody here would like to speak on this sign package for 99 Andover Street, part of Iris campus, and specifically the Subaru dealership. Hearing none, I will come back to the board. Katie, how says you?
I would be inclined to allow this.
Thank you. Karine?
I would vote for this.
Thank you. Ken?
I'll vote for this.
And Ken?
If you go down the Auto Mile in Norwood, every dealership has the owner's name on it.
Yeah.
Whether it be Herb Chambers,
Like a tattoo.
like, so they have egos, so
Yeah.
I'll vote for this.
Thank you. Becky?
I'll vote for this.
And Jeff?
Yeah, I actually think this is a good deal, getting a smaller sign at the street and 4 little signs really far back, so I will vote for this.
Yeah, to Attorney McCann, I too would vote in favor. I can appreciate the reduction in sign. I just find the campus very confusing. However, could I get a motion, please?
I move to issue a variance from section 37.4.e of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow an existing 20-foot tall freestanding sign to be reduced from 78.63 square feet in area to 70.71 square feet in area, and to allow 4 new individual wall signs totaling no more than 148 square feet together, as shown on the plans provided by the applicant. The hardship is the site's soil condition, shape, location of the existing buildings on the site, and the historic use of the premises for motor vehicle sales. This condition does not affect other properties or structures in the same zoning district. A literal enforcement of the zoning bylaw would involve substantial hardship to the applicant, and granting this variance will not create a substantial detriment to the public good and will not nullify or derogate from the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw.
I will second that.
And wait, we have a condition, though, that this lights will not be illuminated past 11 p.m.
Okay?
Correct? I have a motion with a condition and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You
Thank
got
you
it.
very much.
Okay, thank you.
Moving along.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, this will be our final case of the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The final case is 367 Maple Street. This is zoned R3. Request for a dimensional variance from Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow the creation of a new lot in the R3 zoning district having 15,066 square feet of lot area where 30,000 square feet is required. 91.82 feet of frontage where 150 feet is required, and with a side setback of 10 feet where 20 feet is required, and to the extent necessary, a finding in accordance with section 3.10.b of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow alteration of the lot on which the current non-conforming use is operating. Request is made by NVA Danvers Veterinary Management, docket 22-5000.
Can we have the plan? Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here on behalf of NBA Danvers Veterinary Management, Inc., as well as Georgia Marion Myers, the owner of the property. With me tonight, the Myers are here. Our project engineer, Jay, Jay, I'm going to butcher your last name. From Hancock Associates is here this evening, and Ginny Grigg from NVA is also here remotely. And thank you very much. We are requesting a couple of variances, the purpose of which will allow the existing residential structure to be located on its own lot. This is an existing parcel. It's about 4 acres of land, and on that 4 acres are 2 distinct uses. We have the animal hospital that has been in operation since about 1960 on this site. This board recently approved a small addition to the back of the animal hospital, as well as some additional parking areas. That addition to the building, as well as the parking areas, has gone through site plan approval, and that approval has been received. So that is a fully permitted addition to the rear of the animal hospital, as well as the proposed parking areas. And the parking areas, as the board recognized during our hearing on that matter, are really needed and will eliminate parking on Old Maple Street. In addition to the animal hospital and this 4-acre site, there is a residential structure on the property. And that residential structure was originally built back in 1840s. A portion of that structure was destroyed by fire in the 1970s and was reconstructed. But the main portion, find my pointer. The main portion of the dwelling was, this portion was constructed in about 1840s and has been deemed to be of historic significance by the Danvers Historic Commission. This rear portion was destroyed by fire in the 1970s and reconstructed. So we have two distinct uses on this 4-acre parcel. We have the animal hospital with its parking, and we have the residential structure. And what we're requesting is zoning relief to allow the two uses to be separated. No additional uses are being proposed on this site. No additional structures are being proposed. No changes to the site other than what has already been approved through this board's process and the planning board's site plan approval. It's being proposed. We're simply proposing to put a new lot line in as it would fit within the existing site, given the location of the two buildings. And that lot line is shown here and here. And what that will do, it will allow the residential dwelling to remain a residential dwelling and be conveyed to someone separate from the animal hospital. So this is a unique situation in that we have two very distinct uses here. We have a commercial use, which is the animal hospital, and we have a residential use. And we simply want to draw a reasonable lot line that will allow the separation of the house from the residential commercial use. There will be no visible difference that the neighborhood will perceive or that you will perceive as you go past the site. The rear new section that was destroyed by fire and rebuilt, that is being removed. But other than that, you won't see any difference. The lot line that's being proposed is a lot line on paper, but it's not as if there are new structures being proposed or new uses being proposed. It's just going to allow the house to be separated and sold to someone to use as a house, as it has been since the 1840s. So the property is located in the R3 zoning district. The animal hospital is a pre-existing non-conforming use, a grandfathered use within the zoning district, as you found when you granted the finding previously for the small addition on the back. The animal hospital remaining portion is fully conforming. Lot size is certainly well over 30,000 square feet. Frontage, we have plenty of frontage for the animal hospital, both on Route 62 Maple Street as well as Old Maple Street. Setbacks are met for the animal hospital. So the animal hospital parcel being divided off here is fully conforming. The single family, or I should say the residential home is going to be located on a lot that has 15,066 square feet, so a little over half of the 30,000 square feet that is otherwise required frontage of 91.82 feet of frontage, and the lot, the setback, side setback will be 10 feet to the lot line that's being proposed, where 20 feet is required. But again, we've located the lot line in a reasonable location based on the existing animal hospital and its facilities and its parking, and the existing home. I think that is really it. We've been working with the Danvers Historic District Commission, and you should have a letter in support from the Historic District Commission. We have also been working with the Preservation Commission. The Preservation Commission imposed a demolition delay on the building, and as of last week, lifted the demolition delay as it relates to that rear portion that is proposed to be removed because it was constructed in the 1970s. The demolition delay still applies to the remainder of the property, of the historic home, and we would actually withdraw the demolition application that's pending as it relates to the rest of the historic structure, because the rest of the historic structure is not proposed to be demolished. It will be retained. And you should have a letter from the Preservation Commission also in support of this application and the relief required. So we are requesting zoning relief necessary to draw this lot line to separate these two existing uses so they will each exist on their own lot. It is a lot area variance, a frontage variance, and a setback variance as it relates to the historic structure. Again, the animal hospital property will be fully conforming, as well as, to the extent necessary, a finding to reflect that this section of the property is being divided from the animal hospital. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, through you.
Yeah, thank you, Attorney
Just
Kane.
to have these in the minutes.
Yeah, sure.
We're in receipt of two letters, one from the Danvers Historic District Commission dated October 14th of this year in support of this project, and it's signed by Daniel Gann, the acting chairman. And we also have one from the Town of Danvers Preservation Committee, also in support, dated November 14th of this year, signed by Daniel Bennett, Commission Board.
Thank you. So, Attorney McCann, before I turn it over to the board, I guess what I'm not clear on is, currently this whole campus is 367 Maple Street, correct?
Yes.
How does one access this house currently, I believe, from Route 62?
No.
No.
there's a
Off of
street
Old
in the
Maple
back.
Street? I'll let her answer, people.
Yes, there is a driveway right here.
Okay.
And on the site plan that was approved by the planning board already for this parking area, it has a driveway here for access to the historic dwelling. So that is shown on the site plan that was approved by the planning board. And that was not a loosey-goosey location of the driveway. In fact, if you go out on the property, that's where the historic driveway was for this house. There is already a curb cut here for the driveway. You can see the indentation of the original driveway was there. So there won't be any need for easements if that's where you're going with this. This will have its own access right here, a driveway right here in the historic location of the driveway.
And then, so what becomes of this address? If, is this 367A and B? I don't understand.
That is left to the tax assessor.
Well, I'm sure they'll get it right, because they're gonna want taxes.
And the tax assessor, in these situations, I will tell you, the tax assessor works with the fire department so that the proper address is given so there is no confusion.
So, but obviously, these will separate, I guess, so, to get back to my question, will persons that are going to this requested new lot, let's just call it lot, I guess you're calling it Lot 1, will they be able to go to Lot 2 to the animal hospital from Lot 1?
No,
Okay, so that'll be closed off. Is there any planned fencing?
no.
Okay,
Is it your turn for questions?
it is now. So I would like to understand, so is that just gonna be an open area that currently exists? Because I see it says
Oh.
there's a drive here.
There is a drive there now, and the site
So
plan.
I guess what I'm asking is what happens to that drive?
Okay. I do have the site plan that was approved by the planning board that may make that a little more clear, but we have the driveway is here. This is the new driveway. This is an existing driveway that is being removed, and there's landscaping that's going in here. Okay? So this is the new curb cut. It's moved over a little bit for access to this new parking area, which, and this was shown on your plan that you approved, but now we're in a little different context perhaps. So I'll just remind you that this was the curb cut for the new driveway coming in, and the driveway for the house
Okay,
is going to be over here.
got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Jeff, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney McCann, with a site that's like 4 acres, it seems like you're asking a lot to have us swallow 15,000 square feet where 30,000 is required. Why wouldn't you dedicate more property to the historic house and give it a conforming area?
What was laid out and approved during the renovations to the animal hospital and the providing of the parking area, which was really a very big component of both this board as well as the planning board's review previously for the renovations to the animal hospital, is to provide more parking so there would no longer be the parking on Old Maple Street that there is now. The new parking spaces will eliminate that. But by doing that, we lose an area that's now used for dog walking. So the new dog walking area is located here. And so the new lot line has been proposed in keeping with what's already been approved for renovations to the animal hospital and the need for the dog walking area in proximity to the interior hospital uses and access. So that's really the reason for it. We were mindful of making sure that we were proposing more than 50% of the required lot area, but also keeping in mind the needs of the animal hospital use and what's already been approved for those revisions and the needs for the parking. And by removing this garage, we are giving the residential structure about 50 feet to the new proposed lot line. So there's a good backyard area that's going to be proposed.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Becky?
Did you already went to planning board with this, or
We
talked
went
about it?
to planning board with the site plan approval after you granted the finding.
Right.
We went to planning board. We will have to go to planning board for endorsement of the A&R plan
Okay.
once the zoning relief is granted, should you grant the zoning relief.
So did you talk about parking for the new?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that was all
It's
approved.
just not on here, so I'm just wondering, so.
Oh, yes. We did during the site plan review process. We also did before this board because that was part of the finding.
Right.
Was expanding the parking area to make sure that we had the required parking and more than the required parking to allow for making sure that we meet the needs of the employees and the clients, which is not met now. And this board realized that when the finding was granted to expand the parking
I
area.
mean, the parking for the house. Yeah.
Oh, the parking for the house is shown on the site plan that was approved by the planning board, and it's simply a new driveway in the exact location of the historic driveway.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky. Ken?
Thank you. I think all my questions were answered, thanks.
And the other Ken?
I was just wondering if you could expound on the landscaping between the parking lot and the house.
If you give me a second, I can grab that plan.
Right, thanks.
That was part of the site plan approval, and we proposed a lot of new landscaping.
So this is what I have, Nancy, does that?
Yeah. We're proposing 25 new trees on the site. It's a very robust landscaping plan, if you can get to that landscaping sheet. There's many new shrubs. There it is. So we're proposing, this is the section that we're talking about here. So this is the new curb cut that I mentioned previously. This is the new driveway in the location of the historic driveway. And we have 2 elm trees that are in this area, as well as grasses. And then we have additional plantings right along this section here. And then there was a lot of other landscaping throughout the site. But if you're asking about this particular section, Georgia, do you have the key that'll tell us what those, is it on that sheet? Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's going to be at the end.
It's right here if I can, oh, boy, I should get out my copy.
It doesn't have.
Oh, there it is. Does it have PAV somewhere? Yeah. Arborvitae. So there's 4 arborvitae being proposed and then elms.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Go out to you, Corrine.
Yes, Attorney McCann, what is the present condition of the historical structure?
It's in good condition.
Is there someone living there now?
Yes.
Is it a family member or is it a rental situation?
It is currently a rental situation.
Okay.
This is historically, according to the tax assessor's records, it's a 3-family, grandfathered 3-family. It's actually 2. But there is 1 resident now.
So it's 1 resident. Are they living in the whole structure, or are they living in 1 unit and the other unit is vacant? Do you know?
I don't know. When we did a site view with the historic commission, we looked at the entire site, and there I did speak with the resident who was living in this section. I don't know how much of the property she takes.
Okay. And just one last question. From the plans that were submitted back in April, where that small addition is going onto the back of the animal hospital, if if the historical structure stays the same, even and the property stays the same, and even if the garage is not removed, you could still fit the addition in the back, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Corinne. And Katie?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Katie. I think my questions were answered. I really had the same question as Jeff, why we can't carve out more space on a lot so large. I think you've answered it. I guess you're back here because we're viewing just to summarize here or wrap this up, we're viewing the garage to this two-family house, three-family house?
Tax assessor has it as a three-family. It's currently two.
Okay. As a not historical piece of the property that can, if this variance passes, you will withdraw your demolition request on the home and only demo the garage.
Correct.
I have that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have any further questions. So anyone else on the board, anything else? I will go out to the public if you would like to be heard on 367 Maple Street. Just raise your hand and come on up. Yeah, right there in the front. Let's make sure you give us your name and address.
I am Lissa Iapika. I am the property owner of 371 Maple Street. My property abuts, if you pulled that up, I butt from the old.
She said her name.
Lissa Iapika, sorry. It's a weird one. It just might sound like mumbo jumbo. So my property goes from Old Maple Street all the way back to Maple Street to the power lines. So I abut them from the new proposed parking lot up on the main street, all the way down to the front. So my question, I guess, I'm super excited that we're gonna try to preserve it. That's the best thing for the house. It's a beautiful home inside and out, and the neighborhood. And I did agree to, I did support the parking lots. Old Maple Street, we have 10 to 20 cars parking on our little cul-de-sac a day. So that essential parking lot in the back is huge. I will say, because I can see, so my backyard is all here. I can see all the way through. There's no real shrub line in here. It's been desolate. It's kind of broken down. I can see to their existing parking lot. This is only ever halfway full.
Can you take the mic over with you?
Oh, I can. Okay, cool. Sorry. So that existing so if I'm hanging out in my backyard, this shrub line right here is very desolate. It's thick here, and which is why they did agree to put some more shrubs in, which is fine. What I would say, though, is this doesn't even exist now, which this is a lot of parking spots. I'm just going to say.
Okay, we're not here on the parking, though.
No, but what I'm saying is you're talking about variancing this lot, correct?
Correct.
So what I'm trying to say to you is when I see through, the parking spots that they already have are only like 25 to 50% full ever when they're open. So I don't see why they need all of this when the big issue is all the excess cars, because this is never full. So I don't see why they need another 30 parking spots. So what I'm saying is maybe they could just variance this whole slot and build the additional parking spots here, because I don't see a personal need that they need
Your
an
question
additional
is,
30 spots.
could they reduce the size of this new parking lot and give more land to?
And variance the new land further back so you get a proper size lot, because I think that they need it more for employees, and this maybe they will grow a little bit with the expansion of the addition, but they don't need another 50, 60 parking spots, or however many that adds up to, 40 total. So
Okay.
that would be my approach. That would be just my say to possibly getting a proper size lot for that.
Do you have any other questions?
No, my only other thing would be about the new driveway, which I do know exactly what you're talking about. It's kind of ghosted in there. The oil truck uses it. My thing would be is there going to be a garage built for this? How many cars are they going to be tandem? How is that going to affect my property line, like where I'm going to see? Because now I'm going to have all sorts of, I could end up, if they use it as a two-family, I could end up with 10
Well,
cars.
again,
right
they're
there.
only here on the variance. They're not here for a garage. If they were to go for a garage, they would do it through, like any resident in town, they would go through the town hall and request a permit. At that time, if they don't comply, then that would force them before zoning.
And how do we go about finding out if the property is deeded for a three-family and it's being used for two? How do we go about knowing what the property is going to be used for as a size and how much parking is going to be allocated in this new driveway that's now on my side of my property?
Well, I'll let Attorney McCann address both your questions,
Thank you.
please.
I'll just make one comment about the animal hospital parking. Just personally, I've been a client of the animal hospital for about 27 years, and that parking lot is very frequently full, the client parking. So the parking is needed, but that's already been approved. The parking spaces will be required for the residential use along that driveway. And that will be done like any resident would for a two-family. It's now used as a two-family, so I believe that's the proper designation, even though the tax assessor has it as three. There are two kitchens in the property. So the required parking would be provided along there just as it would for any duplex in town, meeting the requirements of the zoning bylaw.
Okay, but what, so I know you said the parking's approved, but what about the question of, could it be, are these an amount of spots required for this facility, or is this just, we'd like to have it?
No, we believe, and Ginny Gregg is the in charge of operations for NVA, believes that these parking spaces are required. They're not building more parking spaces than they need for the animal hospital business. We're trying through this process to retain that historic structure. And we've been working very closely with preservation as well as with the Historic District Commission. And this is the way that we can do it that is not going to result in any particular change to the property other than separating, from a title standpoint, a commercial use from a residential use.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions from the public? Yeah.
My name is David Craig. I live at 370 Maple, which is directly across from the animal hospital. Just a point of note, asking about the address. There is currently no 369 Maple, so that's one
There we
possibility.
go.
But I know that's not you guys'
No.
responsibility.
But you can call them downtown and help them if it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, because Lissa's next door. She's 371. So, so I did a little bit of research in looking at this and looking at the fact that they're looking for just over 50% of the zoning required amount. So I said, well, what does the rest of the neighborhood look like? Interestingly enough, my side of the street is an R2, only requiring 20,000 square feet. But if you take my side of the street from Forest Street to Route 95, add in Glendale Drive and Brentwood Circle, which is the cul-de-sac that is behind, that's a total of 72 properties, only 18 of which comply with the 20,000 square foot variance.
They're above or below?
Requirement. What's that?
They're above or below? The 18?
Only 18 are at or above.
At or above, okay.
So 25%. So 75% are non-conforming.
Gotcha.
If you look at the R3.
That's why they need the ZBA, you know, that's why we're here.
If you look at the R3 and take the odd side of Maple, again from Forest to 95, and add in Nickel Street, Hollis Road, and Durkee Circle, which are on the other side of Route 62, that's a total of 45 properties, only 16 of which are conforming, including 6 of the 8 properties on Durkee Circle being less than 10,000 square feet. I don't know how that happened. It wasn't this board, obviously.
Yeah.
So although it is a substantially less than conforming lot area, it's not out of character with the rest of the neighborhood. In fact, 371, I think, is one of the biggest, other than 367.
And you said you're right across the street.
Across the
And
street.
your lot size is?
My lot size is just squeaking by just over 20,000.
20,000, and you're R2.
In compliance with the R2.
Very good.
And this is all information that I just pulled off the GIS assessor's map. So
Good work. You
it's
want a
only-
job on the ZBA?
No. Thank you, though. Appreciate the offer. So, as I said, it's not completely out of character with the remainder of the neighborhood, although it is
Very good point.
a smaller lot. Also, as to the question of when you're taking a 4-acre lot, why couldn't there be more carved out? I don't know, about 1.5 to 2 acres of this lot is wetlands. So obviously that's not available unless you do some weird, like, some sort of little strip along the frontage, and then give land to the lot that's in the wetlands, and just draw really weird lot lines. And I think that this dividing of the grandfathered veterinary hospital from the residential property is actually it's kind of necessary, not only to preserve the historic house, but also because this was established as a veterinary hospital in the 60s. Dr. Myers bought it in the early 80s. The days of the vet buying, or living on the property that the hospital's on, those have passed. Most veterinary hospitals are handled now by management companies because there's economy of scale, et cetera, et cetera. So I think by dividing this residential home from the grandfather commercial use, I think it's a good thing to do for the good of the neighborhood. It just kind of makes sense. The only other comment I had was, as Attorney McCann mentioned, it's grandfathered as a 3-family. I believe the intent for the 3rd unit would be somewhere in the garage structure that's being torn down. I don't know whose purview it's in, but for the good of the neighborhood, it'd be nice if that grandfathered 3-family could become a grandfathered 2-family. I don't know if you guys do that, or if that's.
Yeah, I don't think we do. I could
Yeah, I
go
don't know
up
who
to
does
Georgia
that.
on that, and we could try to get some clarification, but we usually don't.
No, I understand that, but just from a neighbor standpoint, from my standpoint, there's a big difference between something that is legally a 3-family as opposed to something that is what is currently there, which is a residential home with an in-law apartment. I have no issue having a residential home with an in-law apartment. I love the accessory dwelling unit law that most communities in New Hampshire have, where if say my parents or my mother-in-law needed to move in with us, they could have their own independent space without, no offense, going before you guys. So I don't
None
have any issue.
taken.
I don't have any issue with the.
Yeah, that would be
residential
something
home
you would bring up with the assessor's office.
Assessor's office,
Yep.
okay. All right.
And so I take it you're in favor of
I am
this
in favor,
division?
yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here who would like to speak on 367 Maple? Okay, hearing none, I will come back to the board. And if we have no further questions, we can deliberate. So Jeff, we'll start down there with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very unhappy with the 15,000 square feet. And I appreciate the comments of all of our people who have made comments tonight. It helps. And seeing that this is not uncharacteristic for the neighborhood, I will vote for this.
Thank you, Jeff. Becky?
I think I will vote for this, and I think it's great that we can get all of that parking that's on the street off the street and still have enough space for this historic house. So I'll vote for this.
Thank you. And Ken?
I'm good with this. I'll vote for this.
Thank you, Ken. Ken?
I'll vote for this too.
Kareen?
I will vote for this. I agree with Jeff. I wish it was more square footage for the lot. But based on the fact that most lots in that area are under acreage or undersized, I don't think that this will be out of character for the neighborhood. So I will vote for this.
Thank you, Corinne. And Katie?
I will vote for this for many of the same reasons Corinne said.
Very good. Thank you. And I too, again, this is eerily similar to the Summer Street project. And I think given the fact that this lot does have wetland, the lots around it average below the size of this lot or around it. In this case, if it gets this done, it seems like all departments are happy here, Historical Commission, Preservation Commission. Nancy McCann, Attorney McCann, you did say you would withdraw the demolition permit. I have that correct? You'll take that as a condition?
Yes, we will withdraw the demolition permit as it relates to the historic section.
And you will demo the garage only, and then it would be an A&R with planning.
Yes.
Very good. And based on all that, I am a yes. So if I could get a motion, please.
Okay, we need a dimensional variance and a finding, is that correct?
I think it's just the,
Yes, you need the frontage area and setback dimensional variances,
yes.
and then a finding.
it's both.
I move to issue a dimensional variance in accordance with Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow the creation of a new lot in the R3 zoning district, having 15,066 square feet of lot area where 30,000 square feet is required. It will also have 91.82 feet of frontage where 150 feet is required, and with a side setback of 10 feet where 20 feet is required. The hardship is the location of the existing structures on the site and the site's topography, soil conditions, and present wetlands. This condition does not affect other properties or structures in the same zoning district. A literal enforcement of the zoning bylaw would involve substantial hardship to the applicant, and granting this variance will not create a substantial detriment to the public good and will not nullify or derogate from the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw.
I will
All right,
second that.
hold on before that second. Attorney McCann, so we have a motion on the variance. Is the condition go with the variance or with the finding, or does it matter? Maybe I'll go to staff on that,
I would strongly encourage it to be on the variance.
on the variance. So could we please get a condition on that variance as well?
And the condition is that the garage area will be demolished.
No, I think that they will withdraw the
They will withdraw the demolition
request for 367 from the
permit for the
residents.
residents.
Is that
For the historic
Yes.
for the
residents.
historic building? Does that language sound correct to you?
Sure.
You're the legal one in the room.
Yeah.
All right, we have a variance with a condition. I have a motion,
I'll second that.
and I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The finding, please.
I move to issue a finding in accordance with section 3.10.B.1 of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow the alteration of the existing lot on which the current pre-existing legally non-conforming animal hospital use is operating, as shown on the plans provided by the applicant, as it will not be substantially more detrimental than what presently exists.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion for a finding and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Are we good? Did you have,
Saying aye at the same time as
Oh.
everyone.
okay.
All right.
Thank you very
Corinne,
much.
You interrupted in a good
Thank
way.
you.
Bye, Corinne.
I did?
Thank you.
Yes. Hold on, she can't go yet. We haven't adjourned.
Motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
I'll second that.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Danvers.
Danvers.